Hello everyone, this is Dr. Hatami. In this short video, we're going to focus learning the different types of bone tissue. So, skeletal system is one of our 11 organ system, which the organs of the skeletal system would be our bones. So it means bones are the primary organs of the skeletal system, like the bones of your arm, the bones of your thigh, the bones of your skull. And then what was the definition of an organ? So each organ is composed of different type of tissues. So the primary tissues of the bone as an organ would be bone tissue. So bone tissue is a bone, which then each bone tissue is composed of cells. So we have bone cells, we have bone tissue, and we have bone as an organ. So then these bones making our skeletal system as the organ system. In this short video, we are going to talk about the different type of bone tissue. We have two main types of bone tissue. We have compact bone, which, as the name of this bone tissue is descriptive, it's dense, it's solid, and it's very strong. And we have the spongy bone. So spongy bone, like a sponge, it's porous and it's also actually lighter. So in this video, we're going to talk about these two types of tissue, compact bone and spongy bone. So where the compact bone is found in our body, actually the compact bone is going to be found at the outer layer of the bones. So then, and also the spongy bone, they are going to be found at the end of long bones and also inside the flat bones. Okay, so what does it mean at the end of long bone? So if we have a long bone, each long bone, they have two ending parts, which is called epiphysis. So at their ending part here, we have our spongy bone. So spongy bone would be found here and also here as our long bone, and flat bone, like the bones of your skull, which then inside layer is composed of the spongy bone. So here, the inside, we have spongy bone. So I'm showing you the spongy bone with red color. And if I want to show the compact bone, then I have to do this here at the outer layer of bone. We have compact bone, which is dense, which is the solid or compact, so the outer layer. And also here, again, the outer layer of bones like flat bones, long bones, we have our compact bone. Okay, now let's look at these bones under microscope. So here, that is a picture of this compact and spongy bone. So here, if you cut a bone, so you can see how compact bone would be found at the outer layer, and the spongy bone here in this long bone is gonna be found as a thin layer inside of the bone. So compact bone has a unique structure, which this unique structure is called osteon. So osteon is the unique structure only going to be found in our compact bone. Can you see this circle? Each of them would be called as an osteon. So osteon, it's made up of these cylindrical units, which the osteon is actually the functional unit of the compact bone. So if I want to draw an osteon, I'm going to draw a circle, and then around this circle another circle, and then another circle. So it's gonna be repeating units. So each circle would be actually the bone tissue, which is composed of the bone cells. So here the bone cells we have is called osteocyte. So we have osteocyte inside of a space, which then is, this space is called lacunae. So I'm drawing an osteon that you can see the repeating units of bone tissue, which then at each layer you can find these cells as osteocyte, and this space is called lacunae. Then at the center here we have the canal. So here we have the canal, which this one is called central canal because it would be found at the center. So central canal is composed also inside of the central canal. We are going to have these structures. We have blood vessels like artery, vein, and also we have nerve. So in this picture, you can see how an osteon is composed of these repeating units or these the cylindrical units, and then at the center we have the central canal, which inside we have blood vessels and nerve, and then each layer of this osteon composed of bone tissue, composed of the bone cells, osteocyte, and their house, which is called lacunae. If you focus, actually you can see some of these tiny lines, which these tiny lines are going to connect the lacunae or the osteocyte to each other and also to the central canal. So through these canaliculi, osteocyte can communicate and also exchange the nutrients and waste. So as you can see, compact bone is highly organized and perfect for strength and protection. But how about the spongy bone? So you can see the spongy bone as a thin layer here, which the spongy bone, because it has many open spaces here. So let me show you these open spaces, which inside these open spaces we are going to have the bone marrow. So we have open spaces and then bone tissue, right? So this structure is giving the spongy bone a lighter weight, so that is going to reduce the weight while maintaining the strength. So it means the spongy bone is less dense than compact bone. So but this bony plate, each of these bony plate is called trabeculae. So trabeculae would be the name of these like bony plates in our spongy bone. So even though it looks porous, but the arrangement of trabeculae give it great strength while keeping it very light. So as we said, the spaces between these trabeculae would be filled with bone marrow. Which bone marrow? Actually here we have a red bone marrow, which red bone marrow is responsible for blood cell formation. Okay, so then, and also do not forget, still we have osteocytes, still we have the lacunae, so this is gonna be found in our bone tissue of spongy bone. Okay, so let's review it. We talked about the compact bone. We know the compact bone is highly organized and it has a unique structure which is called osteon. So again, osteon only and only going to be found in our compact bone, which is the functional unit of our compact bone. So in the osteon, which is composed of the cylindrical like unit, it has osteocyte, which then osteocyte would be found inside of this space is called lacunae, and then at the center of this osteon we have central canal, which we know at the central canal we have our blood vessels and nerve. And then we talked about canaliculi, which are tiny canals connecting our osteocytes or lacunae with each other and also to the central canal. So in this way, the osteocyte can get nutrients, oxygen from other like osteocyte or through the central canal, as we have blood vessel in central canal. Okay, and don't forget to draw and label an osteon and show their central canal, their lamellae, their lacunae, and also osteocyte and canaliculi. Then we talked about the spongy bone, right? We said the spongy bone is composed of thin plates called trabeculae. It's lighter than compact bone because of those open spaces, but it's very strong. And then we said in those open spaces, we have red bone marrow responsible for production of blood cells. And also do not forget, still we have osteocyte, which would be found in our trabeculae inside of the lacunae. Now let's talk about the bone cells. So it doesn't matter which bone. Are we talking about the spongy bone or compact bone? In any types of bone, we have these important bone cells. So even the bones look solid and unchanging, they're constantly being broken down and rebuilt throughout our life. But how? How is it possible? Our bone is always breaking down and forming. So we have to know these cells to understand what is happening to our bones through our life. First, let's talk about osteoblast. So make sure you know this. Osteo means bone. So when we have osteoblast, osteocyte, osteoclast, we're actually talking about the bone cells. But they have different functions and also they have different shape. So osteoblasts are bone forming cells. It means that these are the cells is going to produce and secrete the matrix of the bone. Which matrix? Actually, the organic matrix, the part of the bone which it has the protein and like glycoprotein, like collagen, and also they are helping to deposit the minerals like calcium and phosphate into the matrix. So then the osteoblast is producing the bone matrix and helping them to deposit the minerals. And then we have osteocyte. Do you remember we said in osteon we can find cells inside of a house? It's called lacunae. These are osteocyte. Actually, these are mature bone cells. It means that they cannot be divided and also they cannot produce the bone matrix, but they are actually there to maintain the bone matrix. So whenever osteoblasts producing the bone matrix, they're going to be trapped inside of the bone matrix, and then that matrix would be classified. Then we are going to call those cells as osteocyte. So how we are going to produce the osteocyte? Actually from an osteoblast. So for example, when we have the cells osteoblast, so osteoblast is going to produce the bone matrix, and then after a while would be trapped inside of this bone matrix, and after that we are going to call this as osteocyte. But we have another bone cells which actually is the bone destroying the bone matrix or breaking down the bone matrix. It seems very harsh, but actually we need it, because when we want to form a new bone, we actually need to destroy the old bone, right? So then these cells are bone absorbing cells, or the bones breaking down the bone matrix. They are going to break down the bone, and they actually through this way they can release the calcium and phosphate to the blood, and also the osteoblast is going to form the new bone instead of this broken bone. So throughout our life, always osteoblast and osteoclast working together in a balance. So osteoclast removing the matrix of the bone and osteoblast forming the new one. Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you remember the answer for this question? In which of the following tissues would osteons be seen? Hyaline cartilage, compact bone, spongy bone, fibrocartilage. First of all, you shouldn't think about any cartilages because we say osteon. Osteo means bone. Then you should think about compact bone or spongy bone. But remember we said osteon is the unique structure and only going to be found in our compact bone. And thank you for your attention.